Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Well, I've got a really different, exciting new project to share with you guys today. In the last couple of weeks, my son is home from college, from film school, and we were talking about doing some little minor movie projects together, and we started talking about this kind of stuff. This is basically prop movie type costume wear. This metal helmet right here is actually all made out of EVA foam. It weighs probably a grand total of about a half a pound, and it was a blast to put together. This is actually our first one that we've ever done. We were kind of experimenting and going on, changing different things up and trying to get one that looked most realistic to the time period of like a medieval knight. And I am going to show you step by step. I actually planned on making this just as a fun project for my son and myself, and I'm doing it here in my normal workshop in the front of my store. And I had so many customers come in and were so impressed and so wanted to know what this was. And I started explaining it to them. They said, "Damn, you have to make a video about this." And I said, okay. So we started filming it as we were going along, and it just takes a couple of days, a couple of paint. We use a lot of the painting techniques that we'd use on a regular model, but this is all made out of the foam that you use for floor mats. These are the floor mats that you can get like at Harbor Freight. They're the anti-fatigue mats, and it's just a matter of cutting this foam up and forming it into something really cool like this. Now there's a few other pieces of foam that are thinner and thicker, things like that, but this is the main majority of the stuff right here, and I'll show you all the different tools and the ways we need to actually turn this into this. So let's get started. Okay, first of all, we want our paper to cut out to be 26 by 12, which for my head is going to work out. We have a little excess on there as well. Now we're going to go ahead and find our center point. And that we're going to do just by folding the paper in half. And there will be our center line, which we will draw our oval that'll have the face. The back of the pattern will hold together just like this, and we'll be able to take the foam and put it together. You can even see right away we're starting to have our general shape of the helmet. Okay, so I've just taken another piece of paper that is about 6 inches wide, and we've cut it to what is generally considered the shape of a human being's head. And we're going to lay that into place here, and we want to keep a little bit more space up on top here, so about 2 inches on top, 3 inches on the bottom. We will go ahead and trace this out and then cut this out of the pattern. Okay, I'm just briefly putting this pattern around my head to give you a general idea how it's going to be. The chin guard will be right here sticking out, and we want about that much of the face exposed. Okay, and what we're going to make the actual base of the helmet out of is basically a EVA foam floor mat. You can buy these, they're super inexpensive. In fact, I bought a 4-pack of these at Harbor Freight for like $8. We're going to put the textured side on the inside of the helmet because we don't want to take all the time to sand this off. You can if you wanted to, but we're going to use the smooth side. Now with that in place, we're going to go ahead and take our pattern, which the pattern is too large for this type of foam. We could probably buy longer sheets, but I don't think there'll be any problem of cutting the pattern in half right here on the center line and doubling it up, making 2 different molds out of it there. And then what we can do is just use our contact cement and reattach it, because we're going to have one long seam down the back anyway. So first thing we want to do, follow our line. Cut that down the middle. And then we can take that one and we will take our big Sharpie, we will outline the entire piece right here and then cut out this one as well as the other side. as I outline the foam, at one point I was doing some experimenting and I was thumbtacking or putting needles inside the foam to hold the template in place. But I found later on when we take the heat gun and seal it, those holes can open up a little bit more, which might not be a horrible thing in this particular case because we're trying to create ancient looking armor that have little pits and minor defects on it, but I didn't want anything to open up too much. So it's such a basic shape, I can just really just put a lot of pressure down with my hand and just keep track of all of the lines, make sure that the pattern isn't shifting at all. Okay, now we're going to use a long razor knife to cut this out. And I've tried a couple of different types, and this one with the long retractable blade really works well because you want to keep the blade as perpendicular to your work surface as possible, because you want to make sure you have as much of a 90-degree so when you're putting the foam together, the seam will really work out really well. So we're going to cut just past, especially on these are very important, these two front pieces. And pushing pretty hard so you can go through on one swipe and you won't have any jagged edges on the later on. Okay, now we're taking our contact cement and we're going to apply a coat on both sides of the pieces, and we're going to let it set up for about 10 minutes. And I already have a little bit on here, and make sure we're going to make it completely covered on both of them. And I put it inside a little squeeze bottle here, just makes it a little bit easier to apply. And so we're going to let that set up right now, and we'll come back and show you us attaching it together. We're going to do the outside edge though after we take our heat gun and curl this around. So we just want to do the inside edge for right now. Okay, so we've let the glue set up for, I guess it's been about 12-13 minutes, something like that, but it looks dry, and when you touch it like this, it doesn't stick. So now, very, very carefully, we want to get these seams lined up as best as possible and just push the two sides together. And then go ahead and do that exact same thing on the top, getting them as flush as possible. That's why we're laying it on our work surface rather than hold it. And we should get a nice, actually that's a very, very smooth seam right there. So we'll let that set up for a few minutes, and then we're going to get our heat gun out and start forming the inside of this by heating up the foam and then wrapping it around. And for that, I have an old paint can, which is going to kind of offer up as our basic shape of the helmet. Okay, now we've taken some of our 6mm craft foam that comes in a little bit larger than a sheet of paper, and I've gone ahead and cut out this eye slit shape that we're going to put in here. And for the nose, since my nose sticks out proud of the actual shape even in this when it's curved, what we've done is we've taken some real thin EVA foam. This is like a craft foam that you'd get like at a craft store, Walmart, that kids use for cutting up, but it's the same type of foam. And we've put a slit down, or a crease down only the top portion of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to glue this into place like this. Now I've made it purposely longer than the piece, so that way when we're done and we like exactly where it is, we can cut it off and make it even right there. But for right now, we want to make sure that it's going to go on. So I will probably just go ahead and use super glue to tack this into place. I don't think we're going to need the barge cement on this one right here. So we'll go ahead and glue this in, and then once we get that glued in, we can start drilling the air holes that will be put inside on both sides of the cheek to give a little air ventilation to the helmet. Okay, now you're going to see it's quite a bit different than the way we had it a little while ago when we had just a little notch and we were going to put that little thin piece on. I tried it actually 3 different times, and every time it looked worse than the last time. So I went and cut that part completely out of here, out of the middle. And we were looking around trying to find some other thing to do. So we took some more 6mm craft foam and made this little shield type thing that we were going to tack into place over the thing, and I actually think it's going to work out a lot nicer looking like this. It has a little bit more of a drop down that would protect your throat, and also provides, when we flex it just in the right position, provides a little bit more room for the nose, because if you look up on the top here, it flares out where your nose would actually go. So I think it's going to work out all the way around. Now all I've done is just take some masking tape and just tape it to the side here, because while we were testing, the other way we just did it a couple times and it just looked odd. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and cement this onto the actual piece right here, but we're going to do it in this curved position. So that way we don't get any unnecessary flexing when we go to flex it back around. If we did it flat, it might want to pop off too much right here, and we want to keep this angle already going here. Okay, we're actually decided to attach the front plate first, and we made a long witness line all the way down so we can get it nice and straight. And this way we can keep this nice and attached, and we don't have to worry about flexing the wrong way. So we're going to get the whole top attached first. So that is going to be nice and straight across the top. Didn't get it dead on that angle right there, but I think we probably got it close enough. And then around the edge, we will super glue down any of the edges that look like they're flaring a little bit. And with the way that we attach this now, we still get this nice little bit of flare. And now, once I'm completely done with that, we can go ahead and attach this portion, which we've also put a couple little dots right here to let us know at what angle we're going to put this on. Okay, what I've done right here is we're taking our ultra thin EVA foam, and I took a little piece of copper tubing, and I sharpened the inside edge to make like a knife edge all the way around. And we're just going down and punching out what are going to be little pop rivets for the piece. So we do that, and if we do it enough, they usually come right out. Well, because I said that, they won't, but that one's almost out. And then I've also cut a strip of the very same thin foam. This is going to seal up that back seam that we have on it, but we're going to go down the line and put rivets on it. I'm not sure if we're supposed to put rivets on both sides of it. Probably would, I would imagine, because it's going to be the one that goes down. We won't put them that close together, actually. It'll probably be closer to like something like this. And it'll look like we have rivets going down the entire back. I'm also going to punch out a whole bunch more of these too, because any of the areas where the faceplate matches, all that, we want to look like it's been attached by rivets. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go and put in a couple of little air holes that we will drill into the foam here. So I'm finding the center of our front mask here. So we're at 8 1/4, so we need 4 1/8, which is right here. Okay, we have all of the parts on. We've gone ahead and put a couple of strips down to kind of give it a little bit of a little fancier look. Did some strips across the back here, and we put rivet detail all around that. Not positive I'm going to put it on that because I didn't put it on the front here, and I kind of like the way that looks, so we'll probably leave it clean. We're going to go ahead now and we're going to take a heat gun and seal in all the pores on the entire piece, and then we're going to take it outside and put 3 coats of Plasti Dip on. And Plasti Dip is a rubber coating that will seal in everything, and then we can put all of our paint job right on top of that. Okay, as you can see, we've gone ahead and put 3 really heavy coats of the Plasti Dip, and that is a rubberized paint that is going to seal in all the pores and stuff we have on here. You'll also notice too, I didn't like the way the top looked when I was filming it and stuff, so I went ahead and took a thin sheet of the EVA foam, actually made it out of blue, went on top, traced it, glued it to the top here, and then painted it black. So we kind of have just it's got even a slight dome effect to it. Another thing I want to point out too is we left this extra piece of foam inside here. It didn't need to be, but it does help a lot to keep it round on the bottom. I figured if we broke that piece out of there, and you can't see it anyway, that it would kind of deform the pot shape that we got going on right there. So now that we've got 3 coats and this is all sealed up, I'm going to try out a new paint from Vallejo. This is a metal color that we're going to put on, and we're going to turn it first into a metal color to give it look like it's steel. And then what I plan on doing is we're going to mask off the front here, and we're going to paint like 1/2 either red or blue, and then the other half white. We're going to do also we're going to experiment with it and do our hairspray technique and see if the hairspray technique will work, that we can chip up all the paint that we put on top of it too. So have a really cool looking warm. And possible the last thing we might do is put like maybe a slash across it, like it's like been hit with a sword, and put a big chip or something or gouge. But that'll be the last thing after we experiment a little bit more. So let's go ahead and put on the Vallejo metal colors right now. Okay, we've got the metal color on there that we lightly applied over it. And I probably should have shown you guys that how it looked before we masked it, but it looks really good, and it kind of has like a little bit of a hammered effect to the metal. Now what I've done here is I've masked off this stripe because I want to take some flat blue, and we're going to put 1 stripe of flat blue down the side here. We'll seal that in with lacquer clear coat, and then we'll go ahead and chip it up and stuff. But I thought it would be a nice splash of color to this armor piece. So let's do that right now. Now I'm just taking a big wide flat brush that we've dipped a little bit in paint and blotted most of it out on a paper towel, and we're just putting a few little scratches on the blue. We don't want the blue to look too new. We want to look like it's been, partially used. And we want some of the rivets to kind of pop out a little bit more too. And real light, just a light little strokes on it. Most of the paint is completely dried out on this. Okay, what we're using now is we're using actually some enamel streaking grime. And I've sealed the entire model in Tester's dull coat, so it's got a lacquer coat on it, so this is not going to damage any of the paint. And we're going to start to highlight some of these rivets and some of these other areas that we want to give a little dirty effect to. Especially we want to create a little bit more of a shadow down around in the bottom of all these pieces. Put a little bit on, and we can take our paper towel, blot off any of the excess, and you can start to see how the dirty effect will show up. And we'll also take a little bit of rust and do the exact same thing too. I'm going to put a few little streaks coming off the bolts, give them a little bit of a dirty rusty effect, and then we can take another brush dipped in a little thinner and just blend so it's not so harsh. And we'll get this thing all done and all dirtied up right now. And here we are, guys. Here is our completed helmet, actually. Had a great time building this right here. I went over and did a little bit more of weathering on it, but not too much. We didn't want to make it look like it's been like sitting in a field for 30 years. We want to look like it was something that a guy was wearing fairly recently. But like I was saying, it was a lot of fun. This is actually the first full project of this EVA foam stuff I've ever done before, so I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. And if you guys are interested in any more of building props and other things like that, there are lots of other great builder guys on YouTube, whether it be Tested or Punisher Props or Evil Ted or Koami Props. You'll be able to just put in their foam props into the YouTube search bar, and there's lots of great things. A lot of them have plans. Now this is something that we just made up, from scratch. I know it's very reminiscent of the Black Knight from Monty Python. That's got a little affection in my heart, and that probably pushed me in the way that this is being formed right here. It's a little bit different, and obviously the color is a little bit different. But and also, if you guys are interested and you enjoyed this right here, tell me in the comments down below. I would like to actually make a few more of these things, and I plan on doing it. It's just whether or not I actually put them on camera or not. But I would definitely recommend this. This is a lot of fun to do, and you can really be creative on it. So, I want to thank you guys as always for watching, and please stay tuned because we have many more videos coming. None shall pass.